Tracy, I am so excited you said yes to coming on to this podcast with me. Thank you so much. I'm so
You're
excited
welcome.
to talk to you. I mean, don't get me wrong.
Yes.
We talk all the time
Yes.
anyhow. But to have you on and to hear, learn about Pretty Little Things, to hear about what you did, how you got it there, and not only how you grew your business, but how 12 years later you're still in business
Yes.
and just how others can learn from you. So, thank you for coming on today.
Anytime, of course. Thanks so much for having me. This is so exciting. This
It's
is
so
a
much
first for
fun,
me.
isn't
So
it?
it is. It is. It is. So I'm excited. I'm excited. So yeah. Yes.
Very
Excited to
cool.
be here.
Awesome. Awesome. So, let's just get started. And can you share
Sure.
a little bit about yourself and the story behind Pretty Little Things, how it came to be?
Sure. So I would say my name is Tracy, and I've been in Central Florida for 25 years now. So I have a retail background. My degree is actually in criminal justice, and so I worked for a Hallmark store as my fun job. I worked with victims of violent crime during the day, and Hallmark was my fun job. So I've been in retail and worked in retail since I was about 18 or 19 years old, and that was in Texas, and that was just my fun job. It was a nice, fun relief and breath of fresh air from working in this very serious job at a very young age too. And so when I moved to Florida, I was interviewing for jobs investigating elder abuse, doing case management for kids that were involved with the Department of Juvenile Justice. So I got another serious job, and I also worked at a Hallmark store part-time at night. And after a couple of years, I ended up moving over to Tampa and managing a Hallmark store. So I just kind of kept growing in. I worked as a buyer for a Hallmark chain and then ended up managing a store. And financially, it was better. It behooved me more than working. I mean, at that point in time, they were paying people like about $6 an hour to investigate claims of elder abuse working for the state of Florida. Yeah, it
Oh
was
my
in.
gosh.
And I, at that time, was very young, and I'm like, I don't know, I'm not really sure if I want to do this. So, yeah, so I was in the
Yeah.
gift business and moved over here for an opportunity for my now ex-husband to buy a restaurant here in Volusia County. And again, then was a stay-at-home mom for 10 years. So I left retail and stayed home with my kids for 10 years. I went on a couple of buying trips with my mom, who was in working for Hallmark, but I always just loved retail. And I always loved shopping small. And so after about 10 years of being a stay-at-home mom, I knew I was kind of burning to do something more. I always said if I planned one more Girl Scout meeting, I was going to lose my mind. I loved that time with my kids. I'm super grateful for it, but I just knew it was just time for me to do something different. And my girlfriend Jana had opened Pretty Little Things. She initially was going to open it at the corner of Woodland and Rich. That ended up falling through. So she opened it at 113 North Woodland, her and her mom. And they were going to actually call it Persimmon Hollow. I don't know if a lot of people don't know that.
Oh, I didn't know that.
It's the
Interesting.
official name of the shop. It was going to be something to do with Persimmon Hollow. This is way before the brewery opened. And because, of course, Deland was originally called Persimmon Hollow. And I don't know how they landed on the name Pretty Little Things, but it has stuck, even though it's like the longest name ever to write out on stuff. But so yeah, so Anna and her mom ran the shop, and the shop was a little bit of a different nature than it is now. It was more primitives, and a lot of antiques. A lot of
Oh,
it,
interesting.
yeah, a lot of antiques and a lot of vintage, a lot of primitives. And I was shopping. I was a shopper there. Like I have items in my house that I purchased before I even owned the shop. And Jana was a good friend of mine. Her daughter was actually in my Girl Scout troop, and I had said to her, like, if you ever don't want to do this anymore, just let me know. And I remember one night my ex-husband and I were sitting in the kitchen, and it was like the stars aligned, and she shot me a text and was like, "Hey, do you want to talk about the shop? Like, I got some stuff moving on personally." And her son was very young at the time, and she's like, "I want to talk to you about this." And it was just kind of an offer I couldn't refuse. Like the stars aligned and the timing worked out perfectly. And yeah, it happened pretty quick. So within like I have this like nice luxe life of being the stay-at-home mom and total autonomy, total freedom. And then let's go buy a shop in historic downtown Deland. you know?
I know,
So
right? That's a
yeah,
completely different shift in how you're
totally,
spending your time. So I'm
totally.
curious, when you said to her, when you first told her,
Yeah.
hey, if you're ever interested in selling the shop, let me know. Did you really think that she might be interested in selling the shop at some point? Or were you just
Well,
like, hey, this is kind of
at that
cool?
time, we were actually looking around downtown Deland. Like, since I was a kid, I've always loved historic houses, historic downtowns, small downtowns, gift shops. I've always loved that. And I was living in Lake Helen in a historic house. So we always loved downtown Deland. I've always loved old, crusty, dusty buildings and the old architecture. Um, so it was kind of so we were actually looking at the space that Persimmon Hollow ended up going into. We were kind of looking, we were about that space of doing kind of like an adjectives market, which, yeah, oh, thank God that did not work out, but we were kind of looking, and it was just kind of one of those things when you just kind of throw mud on the wall and see what sticks, you
Yeah.
know. I mean, so yeah, when I said it to her, of course, probably never thought it would go to fruition, but it was like the perfect size. It was manageable. Like, I managed $1 million big high volume Hallmark stores
Mhm.
in big high volume malls. So this was like, oh my gosh, what a, you know. And
Yeah.
so it was kind of in jest and in truth. And then, I was the
Wow.
first person
That's
she thought of when she's like, I don't know if I can do this anymore.
wow. So
Yeah,
you jump right in, right? And
jumped
what was
right
that
in.
like when purchasing? Because you were friends with her. And we
Yes.
hear sometimes like don't do business with friends and
Yeah.
relatives, right? Because it could damage the relationship.
Yes. Well,
So,
yeah.
how did you guys do the negotiation and that whole transfer? Was it pretty seamless, or were there some points where you were like, "Ugh, I've got to have a tough conversation about something"?
I didn't know what I didn't know, which was probably a good thing. So, my we owned restaurants, and so we were very comfortable in that space. We already had an attorney, we had a CPA, we had those kind of things. We were familiar with S corp, LLC, that type of stuff. So it was very very simple. It was pretty much like, all right, take everything as is. You own it all. She did not own the building. I took over the lease. The owner of the building was like, hey, if Jana vouches for you, I trust her, so cool, we're in. I mean, it was very seamless,
That sounds so easy.
it
Just
was,
like,
it sounded very easy, but I wasn't getting nitpicky, neither was she.
yeah,
Even after she left, I'm like, hey, do you want these things here? Like it was just very easy,
yeah,
and and she was done. She had kind of turned that page and she was ready to be done, and yeah, but it was and I knew I could have always reached out to her and asked questions, concerns, issues. And it really is just, yeah,
that's
it, it, it
awesome.
just worked out perfectly.
But
Yeah.
that's so good to hear because it could be really challenging when you're purchasing a business from
Yes.
somebody you know
Yeah.
and
Yes.
like,
Yeah.
because you said you didn't nitpick, which
No.
is
Mm-mm.
really really good because sometimes
Yeah.
it's hard, especially when it's your baby and you started
Sure.
it from her
Sure.
standpoint.
Yeah.
I could see where she might be like, oh, there's some things that
Yes.
meant to her because she poured everything into it.
Yeah.
Now when you first took it over, did you know you were going to get away from the antiques and primitives?
Well, I learned, so that was business year, probably I would say 1 through 3, 4. I kind of was still trying to figure out my rhythm. Like, you try to be everything to everyone,
Mm.
and there's only so much space and there's only so much time. And, when I was a buyer for a bigger shop, I had endless budget and, but
Yeah.
so, and this is still, this was also a different Deland. This was also still, 10 years ago, we don't have the foot traffic that we have.
Right.
And you're literally watching every penny, every nickel, every dime, because summer was literally the dog days of summer. You
Yeah.
could go outside, open the door, look up and down the boulevard, and tumbleweeds could be blowing down the street. I mean, summer in Deland was brutal. I mean, summer is still
Wow.
soft for us, but it has definitely come a long way for sure.
Yeah.
Um, because I'm a lover myself of antiques and primitives, I did continue to carry several of the lines that she carried. And then I just started opening it up a little bit more. She did a lot of, like I said, jewelry and primitives. And I would be able to, I had the time to go do antiquing and bring in a lot of vintage and stuff. But then honestly, my kids were at that point like 10 and 9, And then I just didn't have the time. I didn't have the time to do the antiquing. I still
Mm.
will go out to Renninger's and that kind of stuff and bring in stuff, but it really was a matter of time. And then too, which is something that retailers often fall into the trap of, you have to buy what sells, not necessarily just what you like. Like I carried Simply Southern in the shop for years and years and years. You've never seen me wear a Simply Southern shirt
No, I
ever.
can't even imagine you in
No,
something like
no. The
that.
color palette, no, it's not.
No.
But every year I would look at the numbers and be like, is this the year we're done with it? And I'd look at the numbers, I'm like, dang it, I sell the heck out of it,
Yeah.
so that's where I think you fall into the trap of only carrying the stuff that you love versus the stuff that sells. You got to find that happy medium. And after 10 years, I have found that happy medium, but I've tried a lot of lines that I thought would be, oh, gangbusters. This is going to be a rent pair right here. You
Yeah.
bring it in and you're just dusting it, like, but yeah, but I have kept, and it's an interesting, I'm kind of at a weird crossroads right now because it's Pretty Little Things. And under my logo says vintage fashion home. And I'm very light on vintage at this point.
Yeah.
I don't carry it like I used to. So I feel like I really need to do a shift, like a branding shift to more of a gift. And I'm known for my Florida Deland local stuff,
Right.
so I'm kind of at that, like the wheels are turning right now.
That's interesting that you recognize that. You're like, wait a
Yeah.
minute, I'm not really fitting what I
Yes.
say that my brand was, what it started off,
Hmm.
and what I continue doing for several years. But
Yeah.
now, 12 years later, it
Right.
just
Hmm.
isn't
Yeah.
there. So that's really cool that that you are looking at that and saying,
Hmm.
okay, what do I need to tweak and change? So
Yes.
being in business for as long as you've been in business in a small
Hmm.
town, right? And
Yeah.
yes, like you said, the foot traffic has increased, but a
Hmm.
small town, it can
Yes.
be challenging, like you just
Sure.
shared in the beginning.
Yes.
So what do you contribute your success to for being around as long? Because I'm sure you've seen businesses come and go in the
Oh
12
my
years you've been
gosh.
downtown.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what makes you different? Like what has kept
So
you there?
I always say, like, and every time I hire a new employee, I always say, we don't sell. We don't sell in the shop. We're here to build a relationship, and like
Mm.
I literally on the daily basis recommend local things to do, local things to see. I don't put pressure sales on people. I don't do that. Like, and people will say, oh, and you can come in and chat and leave and not feel bad that you didn't buy anything. But I'm there to build the relationship, to teach people about the town, teach people about our area. Because I feel, and I've said it a million times, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. And I don't even know if I'm even saying that right or that's saying right. But I feel like if you don't buy something from me, but we had a great chat, you had a good time, and you go next door to Pinup Parlor and you buy a dress, and then you go down to Berryville and get some yogurt, and then go have dinner at De La Vega. Like that's, and then next time you come, because you had such a great time in Deland, you do buy a sticker from me, and then you buy a candle, and then you come back next month and buy a candle. It's cyclical. And I'll get people
Yeah.
that'll be like, hey, we've been snowbirds, and every year your shop is our first one we come to. They literally come once a year because
Yeah.
I built that relationship. And I'm
Yeah.
always like, tell me again, because of course I don't remember anything because I see people all the time. And they'll say, oh, we're the ones that come down from Virginia Beach and we drive a Volkswagen van or whatever it is. And I'm like, oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. So then so I feel it's about building that relationship 100%.
I love
100%.
that.
Yeah. And one other like tip that we did back in my old Hallmark days is we have a customer request notebook. And I love paper and I still
Oh.
have a paper calendar. We literally have, and this, I didn't do this on purpose. We have a customer request notebook, and Brandy or the girls will write down customers looking for the juicy apple candle, text them when it comes back in. And we use that customer request notebook all the time.
You're
And
kidding me. I didn't know
yeah,
that.
all the time. Yeah. So it's like if you're looking for that mug, and I'll say, oh no, we're never going to get that one in again, but we'll be getting, the stuff that we regularly carry. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I probably text 1 to 2 customers a day, letting them know, oh, by the way, we just got more bourbon and bow ties in. I know you were looking for green. We got the green ones in. So
Customer service goes such a long way.
it does.
Such a
It
long way.
does.
And I love
It
that
does.
you are sharing that. And I
Yeah.
watch you on Instagram and you do reels all the time. And you do, you
All the
talk
time.
about Deland, you talk about other
Mhm.
businesses, you talk about what to do. Not even just Deland, you venture out into other areas, but Deland
Yes.
is where your business is. And that's
Right.
where you're put a lot of your
Yeah.
energy.
Sure.
So, how important is your social media for your business right now?
I mean, I know you're always telling me about that email list, and that's been on my list every year. But I am always, knock on wood, so nervous if my social media went down. But I feel like I have built a really good base and rapport
Yeah.
with my customer base. But if social media I mean, I hear a dozen times a day, I'll say, "Oh yeah, well we just got those hats in," and they'll say, "Oh yeah, I saw it on your social media. Oh yeah, I saw that on Instagram." I can't tell you how many times a man has walked in with a screenshot that his wife sent and was like, "Hey, go pick this up." And he's wandering around the shop looking for it, you know? So it is, my website's terrible. I don't sell online, you know.
I wasn't
So,
gonna go
hey, I'll own it. I'll own it,
there.
But so the Instagram, and sometimes I even I forget to myself, like, Tracy, you have a shop. You actually have to sell some products. You can't just be out lollygagging around talking about this park. You actually have to sell some stuff. But I think, like I said, it behooves all of us to
Yeah.
let people know the things that we have here in town and the things. So, but social media I feel like almost more of a full-time job than me being in the shop. It is. It is.
Yeah.
It is. It's
Well,
a full. It's a yeah.
you do an excellent job with it. You do a
Oh,
really,
thank
really good
you.
job with it. And,
Thank you.
they're fun to watch. They're really fun videos. I feel like I get like a peek inside, not just your business life, but your
Yeah.
personal life, because you share
Oh,
so many different
sure.
things that I can
Yeah.
understand why people feel like they know you. And
Yeah.
they do, it just goes hand in hand with the way you build relationships. Like
Yeah,
you
for
build
sure.
them on
Yeah.
social and then you carry it
Yeah.
through in the shop on one-on-one.
Well, and
So,
what you see is what you got. Like, this is
yeah.
me. Like, and like you've heard me say inappropriate things like in a meeting, I mean, like, that's me. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
you're not going to see like this social media persona and then meet me in person and be like, I don't even recognize her. Like, this
Yeah.
is who I am,
Yeah.
and I was, like, with, obviously, I'm on the Main Street board. Like, I was a little apprehensive several years ago because it was very starchy and, professional and suit and tie. And Waylon Niece was a huge like inspiration. I'm like, well, if Waylon can do this, I can do this. And it's like,
And
so
for
it's
those of
nice to
you that
see.
don't know Waylon,
Yes.
Waylon
Yeah.
is a very free spirit. He's a great
Yes.
guy. He
Yeah.
is really in the community big time, and he loves our community and he gets involved and he does really
Yep.
amazing things. But he is a free spirit. He wears whatever he wants to wear,
Mm-hmm.
whether you like it or don't like it. He
Yep.
doesn't care. And he's just a great guy. We both
Yes.
serve on the board with
Yes.
him, and I
Yes.
think we both really like him a lot. But that's funny.
Yeah.
Does he know that he inspired you to just be
I'm
you?
not sure. I'm not sure. I will have to tell him. That will be on my heart to share that with him.
Yeah, we
But
might have to
it
take a
is.
clip from this podcast and
Yeah.
tag him in it and
Yeah.
let him hear you.
Yes, yes. Because the first couple, when I first went on the board, I was like, oh my gosh, like I don't own business suits. Like I used
Yeah,
to work in the court system. I had all of the business suits, and
right.
that was part of the appeal of being. So,
Yeah,
but yeah, no,
that's funny.
it's funny.
That is funny. So you do a really good job with social media, as I was saying, with your Instagram. And if there's
Thank you.
somebody who owns a small business, you're welcome. If there's somebody listening who owns a small business, what tips can you give them for creating engaging video content? Like, because you do such a good job.
Oh, thank you. So I mean, and I know you might be mad at me on this one. I don't
No, I'm
plan
not going to be
content.
mad at you for anything.
Yeah, I don't plan content and I don't batch content. I just
Okay.
don't. And so sometimes like like, okay, this is as planned. Like yesterday, I got in a big shipment of handmade soaps. Very popular, one of our top 5 bestsellers. So as I'm leaving, I'm taking pictures. In my mind, my plan was I will take my pictures like the day ahead, but I don't do a social media plan. I don't plan because the nature of my shop is also I always am getting in new merchandise. So
Right.
I would call it a blessing and a curse. Like when I get in new stuff, I'm always posting new. A lot of times I do forget to go back and post the classics that I always have in the shop. I'm always posting new line, new this, new that. So I would say to anyone starting out, just start posting. Like,
I
just
love
do it. Like everyone, if I hear
it.
it one, I've heard it a million times. I don't like social media. I don't like social media. Like, you don't have an option in
Mhm.
2024 to not like social media.
Right.
Like, you're on social media as a fan of it. You're watching Instagram, you're watching TikToks, you're doing it, you're feeding other people's
Yeah.
algorithm, and you own a business and you're not doing it yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I would say A, just do it, and then B, put yourself in front of the camera. Like, you
Yeah.
feel awkward and uncomfortable, but hey, that's what filters are for. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, come on.
But I
Yeah.
don't think anybody really notices. Like you
Yeah.
are like, oh, that's really awkward. But people just enjoy the
They do.
content. Yeah. They just
Yes.
enjoy
Yeah.
seeing real. And I almost feel like when it's not polished, it's better.
Oh my
When you
gosh. Yes.
right? Like
Yes.
we appreciate you
Yes.
more, we connect with you
Yes.
more because it's like, oh, wait a minute, you're relatable now. You're
Yeah.
not perfect. Like, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah. Well, and I don't know how you feel about it. We haven't even chatted about it, but just replicating TikTok trends, I'm not a fan. I don't do it
Yeah.
like I because I feel like it's stolen
Yeah.
valor. I feel like you're literally someone came up with a really funny bit and you're either using their voice,
Yeah.
it using their voice, using their, you're lip syncing to their content. You're just
Yeah.
copying exactly what they did. It would be like if I went and saw a window display somewhere, it just replicated it exactly to my shop. I feel like it comes off I feel uncomfortable watching some of those videos,
Yeah.
and it's like, I still don't know you, shop owner, business owner,
Right.
barista. I still don't know you because all you do is replicate what someone
Mm,
else is doing,
that's good.
so yeah, I'm not, yeah. And I know they're
Mhm.
trending and it probably will get you a ton of likes. It probably will get you with the, which, you
But who
know,
cares? Who cares if you get a ton of likes? People get so
right.
fixated on those
Yes.
vanity metrics. Like, oh, I get
Yeah.
these likes. So, like, you want people to connect with you and you
Yes.
want them to buy your product. And
Yes.
you know, that right now,
Yes.
if you're just doing that other stuff, you're just entertainment. You're not
Right.
an option to purchase from, you know?
Yeah, and I think people can watch my videos and they know, well, I'm an Elvis fan, or
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
eat a healthy diet and I juice and these weird things. They learn these little nuances about me, and they can connect to it because they're a
Right.
human too. They
Yeah.
can be like, "Oh my God, I didn't realize she's an Elvis fan. My mom's a huge Elvis fan." So
Yeah.
it is. But yeah, but for and you don't even really know your voice until you start doing it. You
Oh,
might
that's
start your
good.
social media path this way and you're like, oh, look at this, I love this backdrop or this ring light. I don't have any of that stuff too, by the way.
Yeah.
I don't use a ring light. I don't have. You were asking me to take some pictures like in a white box. I'm like, oh girl. Oh,
All I wanted was a photo of you
right.
that was like every picture of you, you're with somebody, you've got your thumbs up, your seatbelts on. I'm like, can I just have a photo of just you so
Oh
that I
my,
can use it a
right.
graphic on all this stuff with this podcast?
I know.
And
And
you
I was
gave me great ones. You sent some really good ones over. So
like,
that
okay, good.
you
Okay, good.
know.
Oh, thumbs up. Yeah, yay.
Right.
Yeah.
Thumbs up. So
But yeah,
you go.
but I do think, yeah, I just think people are so afraid to start doing it,
Yeah.
and oh, what if it doesn't look good, or oh, it's a pain. Yes, of course it's a pain,
Yeah.
but what's the alternative? This
Right.
is a way too for us to be competitive. Like, me personally, I don't follow Target, I don't follow Walmart, Publix, I don't follow big box companies, but I
Yeah.
sure as heck follow you, and I follow Miss Preppy Pants, and I follow Boston Coffee. I don't follow
Yeah.
Starbucks or any, this is our
Same.
chance as a small business to have an opportunity. We can be competitive, you
Right.
know. I mean, does the community follow Starbucks and what they're doing, or do they follow Boston? You know what I mean? Or Trilogy, or
Yeah.
so
Definitely.
yeah,
That's a great point because I didn't
yeah.
realize it, but I don't follow any of them either. And
No,
part of me wanted to. I remember at some point I wanted to just to see how they market, to
sure,
learn,
yeah,
not to consume the content, but to see the strategy behind that.
sure,
But I've never really engaged. So I don't even know if I still follow them, but I don't see them and
yeah.
I don't miss them.
No,
Like
no.
I
I know
like
I
the small
follow Moe's because
businesses.
I love Moe's and I always get Moe Monday. I might follow, I
Ah,
mean, half a dozen, but really it's
yeah.
minimal at best, you
Yeah.
know. And
Right.
yeah,
Right.
but no, and I do wish well, that would be my little wish is people just engage with the content more. Like, you're watching it, just say hi.
Yeah.
Tracy, your hair looks good. I love Elvis too. Just say something, So I've been trying to, because I also love social media and I love watching. I'm trying to be more deliberate with my commentary as well
Yeah.
and giving those people their attaboys and attagirl. And that looks great and super cool. Can't wait to
Yeah.
try it, that kind of thing. So,
And that's so important. It goes two ways. And I'm
yeah.
glad you just mentioned that because I think big mistakes people make sometimes is that they create content, they post the content, and then they walk
Mhm.
away and they don't engage with anybody else, but they want everybody to engage with them. So I love that you
Yes.
just shared that you're being more proactive, you're being aware of
Trying.
it,
Yeah.
of what you
Yeah.
want, and you're doing
Yes.
that for others because it's so important.
Well, because
So,
I know you do the same. All of us do the same. You'll be like, "Oh my gosh, that's so cute." Well, how hard would it be to like it and just send a heart emoji, or like it and be
yeah.
like, "Oh my gosh, that's so cute." Like it's not.
Yeah.
You're here
Right.
looking at it. Like tell them it's cute. So
Yeah,
I'm just,
I
yeah,
love
I'm trying to make a
it.
conscious effort of not to, what do they say, post and ghost. Also, go
Right.
back and reply the
Right.
good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
yeah.
So we mentioned Main Street a little bit because we're both on the board for
Yes.
Main Street of Deland and which is great. We both love Deland and the community
Hmm.
and we love pouring into that community. Do you feel like being involved in the community has played a role in your success with Pretty Little Things?
I would say, yeah. I mean, do I think my fellow board members are beating down my door to buy from me? Not necessarily. However, I think me being it shows I'm committed to downtown. It shows that
Mhm.
my shop is committed to being here, being active, and I hate the B word where people are like, oh, I'm too busy to do that. I'm like, well, who isn't? Oh, I'm too busy. I'm too busy. Oh, really? Not me. I got
Right.
2 kids. I got a house. I'm a single mom. You know what I mean? I got all these things too,
Yeah.
but I do think it is important. And I think too, it's important to, especially as a merchant, hi Morgie, we were very merchant light for a long time on our board. And I think it's important that we have merchant input because you know,
Yep.
um, so I would say 80% help. I would also say sometimes 20% maybe hurt because they aren't happy with an event. I remember some of the shops that were on the side streets would always really be mad on event days because it killed their business,
Right.
and even like a Tropical Nights, just for example, it used to be a big shopping event. It's really changed to more of a just kind of open house, walking around, sangria, partying event, which is totally fine. Not event is for
Right.
everyone, but I could see where a merchant or someone would get a little grr because of a Main Street event. So I get
Right.
that. So
Right.
so I would say 80% awesome. But I also have become, oh, Tracy, I couldn't make it to the meeting. Can you tell me what's going on?
Yeah.
So, which is fine
You're
too.
like the source. Like
Yeah.
you're the liaison for Main Street and merchants. Like and
Yeah.
you know everything that's going on with both, which I
Right.
think is super cool because I know if I have a question about what the merchants
Yeah.
think, I'm going to you or Preppy because I
Sure.
know you've got a
Yeah.
pulse on how they feel and what's going
Yeah.
on and what are the hot topics right now that they're all talking about. So
Sure.
I get that. And I personally love that you're involved in the community and
Oh,
you're a merchant. So and you do an
yeah.
amazing job. And next year
Thank
you're going to
you.
be the president, which is super cool. And you're gonna totally kill it, which is
I
I'm so
hope.
excited to see everything. You
We
will,
shall
no
see.
doubt. No
We
doubt.
shall see.
Yeah. So if
I'm
somebody's
not sure they're ready
listening,
for it, but
no, they're yes, we're all ready for
we'll see.
it.
So,
So if somebody is listening and they're thinking about starting a business, getting a brick and mortar,
yeah.
um, what advice would you tell them?
First, I would tell them you have got to be all in. This is not
Mm.
part time. I remember a merchant came to downtown and said to me, I just really didn't think I was going to have to be here so much.
Are
And I
you
was
kidding?
like, girl, you didn't open an
What were
online
you
business.
thinking?
You opened a brick and mortar shop. And I think about her saying that all the time. And you have got to be all in. And the minute I would say out of 365 days a year, 350, I bring my work bag home every single day.
Yeah.
And there's either catalogs, like I was doing payroll last night. There is rarely a night that I'm not working on something,
Mhm.
And so I know people say, gosh, your shop was closed for this, that, and the other. I was in the shop for 7 hours and then I still came home and worked additional. I don't expect a gold medal for being an overworker because I have gotten better about drawing a boundary about that. But there are little things that always have to be done. There's little comments to respond to on Instagram. And I know if I and sometimes if I do get a little long-winded in the shop and I have a very chatty day and I don't get a lot done, I do pay for it at night, which is fine. It's just the nature of doing business.
Right.
But I would say that that would be my biggest advice is you got to be all in emotionally, mentally, physically,
Yeah.
and recognize the physicality of especially a brick and mortar is you're on your
Yeah.
feet all day and your social battery does get drained. Even a high
Yeah.
energy human like me, the minute that shop closes and I lock that door, I turn that music off and I'm like, oh, my brain is just, I just need a little,
Decompressing time.
decompressing, So,
Yeah.
and you got to be on, you got to be
Yeah.
on a lot,
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really good advice. There was a shop for sale downtown not too long ago. And
Yeah.
like you, I grew up working retail
Yeah.
management. And I always said I was going to own a boutique or
Hmm.
some sort of retail
Sure.
shop. For as long as I can remember, I said I was going
Yeah.
to do that. And so the shop came available and I was like, oh, so I called and I got a price and I'm like, all right, I can negotiate this. And I was like
Right.
starting to get really excited thinking about what can I
Yeah.
put in this shop? Like all the things
Sure.
and all the things I love, which goes against your advice. but but I'm start thinking, and then I said something to my husband, and I was like, hey, like this is going on, and I've been thinking about this. And all he had to say was, you do realize that means you would have to be there all the time and
Yeah.
you wouldn't have the freedom you have now. And I was like, oh, I totally didn't think about that. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
yeah, forget it then.
Yeah, yeah. I remember the
Forget
first week when I was,
it.
like I said, I had been a stay-at-home mom, full autonomy for 10 years. I mean, other
Yeah.
than two children, but I libraried apart. I mean, I remember the first week I was in the shop, I was like, what in the world did I do? Like, what did I do? Like, you don't realize, kind of like when you have a baby at first, that 24
Yeah.
hours a day, 7 days a week of it,
Yeah.
you're like, oh my gosh, like this is never going to end. Like this is all day, every day. I have to be here every day. Then I get to go home. I got to come back tomorrow.
Yeah.
It is,
It's a
yeah.
lot.
And even when you have good employees, which I do, I have great girls in the shop. It, you're still, unless the shop is absolutely 100% closed, I'm always thinking about it,
Oh, yeah, I get it. I think every
always thinking
business
about
owner,
it.
yeah.
Yes, yes,
Me too. I am the
yeah.
same. I am the
Which is,
same.
again, a blessing and a curse because I
Yeah.
do at this point have the flexibility. I can do this with you in the morning. I'm not working a 9 to 5. I have
Yeah.
that, so
Yeah.
I don't know. It
Which
is,
is
I mean,
great.
I wouldn't trade it for nothing at this point.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah,
Well, Tracy, thank you so much for coming on. If
of course.
anyone, if anyone is in Deland, downtown Deland, Pretty Little Things is right down there. And the link to her Instagram, because I'm telling you, you want to follow her on Pretty Little Things. It's great. And she shows all the cool stuff. And she also tells you about Deland. So it's going to be in the link. So in the notes below. So just scroll down and check it out and visit Tracy at Pretty Little Things. But yeah, thank you again, Tracy.
Awesome. Of course, Deanna.
All right, everybody. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.